Wow, Stan, 25 years ago. 25 years since the first launch of the first Oasis unit. What do you remember about that time?
25 years ago, well, I was just a tad over that because we had a client at the time who just wouldn't let an issue go. We didn't realise what it was. We ended up developing a unit specifically for this guy, and it was the Oasis unit, the first one we ever launched. And we didn't know really what we had at the time. We brought, I think, 4, if I remember, for his site, and we thought, well, we'll market these 4 and just see where we end up. It ended up 6-9 months later, we couldn't build them quick enough. And that was all led by the changes in the HSE regulations, and nobody quite realised the impact that would have. They changed from the old style setting up a site, which was simply you'd arrive on site, greenfield, you'd have 3 or 4 months maybe to set up the site welfare, and you'd add bits to it as you went along. Maybe you'd get some toilets after a few weeks and so on. It would gradually build. The HSE weren't having any of that. They decided that at this date they were going to change things. From day one, you had to have fully working welfare facilities, means to heat food, a canteen to eat it in, hot and cold running water, a means of drying clothes overnight. All this came in, and this caught contractors on the hop, really. They just had to come up with an answer, and this is where our client came in. He said, we've got to have an answer. We can't afford that time lag of 3 or 4 months. It costs a lot of money, etc. Well, do you remember the first one we started with, Mandy?
Yes, looking back now, the first one, if we look back at it now, actually, it was quite embarrassing. But at the time, it was cutting edge. Absolutely, it was cutting edge at the time. But what it does show is in the last 25 years, how much it's developed, and what was amazing when we first launched it, over time has become the norm. I remember very much in the first few years going to meetings and you actually dreading me coming back, because most of the time I'd come back and say, oh, guess what? Been to see so-and-so, and they'd really like this added to the unit. And your initial reaction would always be, oh, we won't be able to do that. And I used to say, okay, this is where we start. We'll give it 5 minutes and your ideas will start flowing. And right until this day, that's never changed. You've never let us down. You've always come up with a solution. And initially it was very much about people wanting to have an office added to the canteen facilities. Already early days of sustainability were creeping in, and we're talking probably 20 years ago, where people wanted perhaps double glazing to the units or recyclable water, or those various bits and pieces that we looked at. But over time we then started looking at the whole system within the units, which then developed into hybrid and lastly, over the last few years, obviously into solar. So one of the biggest developments in the last few years has been the ecologic solar. Can you tell us about how that developed from the ecologic hybrid range?
We started off with the ecologic hybrid, and we set out with that one, just a brief history of that one, to improve facilities, bring in 2 toilets, didn't we? We did that. And we put solar on it to support the batteries. And it was basically a generator unit with a little bit of solar. And it became evident then with the development of solar power and the bigger emphasis from clients on renewable energy. That was, I think, the big thing that pushed it. They wanted more renewable energy input into the unit. We're already using LPG, which is a low carbon, low emission fuel, but they wanted more. So we looked at the options and how could we achieve that? We thought, well, solar panels, what could solar panels give us? Well, what we've ended up with the ecologic solar is a unit with 3.4 kilowatt hour solar array on it. What's that mean in real terms? That means in real terms we can produce 95% plus of the electrical energy that unit needs across the fleet, that's across all the units we've got in the field, from renewable energy over the overall whole year. Yes, we've got a generator in it. You have to have that for supporting the bad winter months when there's not a lot of sun about. But the generator, it's basically a solar unit and it's supported with the generator, rather than previously the Ecologic was a generator unit with a little bit of solar. The advantages it gives are beyond just renewable energy, because we get the community saving. We don't make a lot of noise. We don't have a lot of service visits. All those sort of things are reduced. So we're reducing the community impact, we're reducing the amount of fuel we actually use, which is a win in both directions. One, the client's happy because he's saving money, but 2, the environment's happy because we're not burning it. So it's been a really positive development. And it came about developing it just with the ability that we've got, an ability to react and innovate and produce things and bring them to market quickly. So we used our team to do that, and that's how we got to where we are. Well, over the years, Mandy, how do you think clients have influenced the development of the Oasis range?
I think the clients have been central to every development that we've made right from the very start. As I said, It's very much around the facilities, but more recently it's been also about their sustainability. And the challenges for our clients are to be more sustainable in their business operations. And that's not just related to carbon, that's also related to community impact, looking after their staff, clean air. So their challenges that they are faced, and actually our welfare offering can assist them with that. So we actually give them a very tangible product that shows that they are working in a sustainable manner. The unit itself shows that, the fact that it's got renewable energy, the fact that, as we said, it's a quiet unit. It looks after the staff that are working on site. It ticks all the boxes for our clients, and it helps them on their journey to net zero for carbon, but many other areas around that as well.
Well, Mandy, looking down here at our 2 apples last year that we collected from the Houses of Parliament, our 2 Green Apple Awards, how do you think recognition of the product has helped the business over the years?
I think it's really important. I think it's important for our staff, because I think it's good to believe in a product, and it's good if someone else tells you the product's good and it's not just something that we say ourselves. So that industry recognition helps our clients as well, because again, the brand that we built over the years stands for something, and to have that external industry recognition, but not just industry recognition, it's also come direct from clients. It just strengthens what we do, and it shows that we're meeting our clients' expectations and the commitment that they've made towards their sustainability targets with our welfare provision. Right, okay, Stan, so what's going to happen in the next 25 years? How do you see the future for Oasis Welfare developing?
Well, I think in the short term we're going to launch a Vision solar unit, and we're going to add to that a Vision solar disabled access unit, which will be a ground level access for disabled, fully compliant disabled access unit. So when I say fully compliant, it'll meet the building regs requirement for a disabled toilet. So that's one step forward. I think going beyond that, we're experimenting or trialling, shall I say, alternative fuel systems. We're looking at fuel cells for LPG and for hydrogen, the effective use of those. We're moving on towards looking at other renewable energy sources. We're looking at wind. It may well work in some locations in the country, so we're looking at that to support the unit. And we're looking beyond that at some other innovations that really, until we've got a product that we can bring to market, I don't think we really want to talk about those on camera, do we?
No, we don't, Stan.
But there's lots to play for the future, and there's lots of ideas, and I think the point you made earlier, it's all driven by the client needs. And not necessarily the client that we deal with, but the client that they deal with, the ultimate person that's having the product built or developed, or the building. That's what drives it all. It's this recognition, isn't it, for the environment is key.
So what you're saying, Stan, is watch this space?
Yes.